good morning. We're going to pick back up with Avon and Connor. They just finished their prank on the old style shootout. And let's see what happens next. Connor and I had been spending a lot of time together, so my parents asked me to invite him over for dinner after school. At lunchtime, I made my way to the bathroom as usual and washed my feet. I started at the stall. I just couldn't do it that day. I felt too happy, and I was excited to see Connor and to invite him over. I didn't need another bathroom stall lunch ruining my good mood. So I headed to the library to find Connor, once more taking the longer, quieter route around the office. I nearly tripped over that kid again as I rounded the corner. "Gosh, I'm sorry," I said. Next time I would definitely remember to jump over him. "That's okay," he said softly, never raising his head. I walked away but stopped a moment to look back at him. He stared down at a sandwich and grapes lying next to him. I wondered why he would be eating out here on the hot sidewalk by himself. I looked about him and I saw that he was as forlorn and pitiful as I must have looked cowering in the bathroom stall when I ate my lunch. How could I just walk past him again? As though he were some speed bump in my way. I went back and stood over him. He looked up at me, his hoagie sandwich midway to his mouth, and sweat was trickling down his brown cheeks. "Do you mind if I sit down?" I asked. He looked around for a second like he thought I must have been talking to the brick wall or the lamppost nearby, and when he looked back at me, he shrugged his shoulders and said, "Okay." I dropped my school bag on the ground, eased the strap off from around my neck, and sat down. He watched as I carefully opened my bag with my toes and pulled out my lunch. I spread a napkin out in front of me, and then I lifted out my Cheetos, apple slices, granola bar, and peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and arranged them on the napkin. "What's your name?" I asked him as I opened a bag of Cheetos with my toes. Instead of giving me his name, he said, "That's cool. How did you do that?" Lots of practice. I'm Avon." He continued to watch with intense interest as I took out the Cheeto and popped it into my mouth. "Zion," he said. "Like in the Bible?" I asked. "No, like the Matrix." "Oh," I said, munching on my Cheeto. "What's that?" His mouth dropped open and he said, "Seriously? It's one of my parents' favorite movies. They love sci-fi stuff. They said I looked like Morpheus when I came out all bald and mysterious, but I'm not allowed to watch it because it's rated R." "Oh, well, I won't be able to either. Bummer. This Morpheus guy does sound interesting," I said. Zion rolled his eyes. "No, my parents are nuts. They named my brother Lando after Landau Calrissian, if you know who that is." "Are you kidding? I'm definitely allowed to watch Star Wars." Zion smiled and said, "My parents would be impressed." I footed actually, him a Cheeto, and he took it from me without flinching. "Can I ask you something, Zion?" "Okay," he said, chewing on his Cheeto. "Why do you eat out here on the sidewalk all by yourself?" He slowly lifted a juice box to his lip and took out a long swig and said, "I like it because it's quiet here." I tilted my head and raised an eyebrow at him. "Is that the only reason?" Well, I don't know. It's okay." And then I said, "Don't worry, I've been eating lunch in the bathroom." He looked at me in surprise. "I don't want other kids to watch me eat. Everyone likes to watch a fat guy eat. They want to see how much food I can eat, how much food I can stuff into my mouth." "But you're not fat," I said, and then I cringed at my own words. I had meant it to sound nice, but it didn't really sound so nice coming out. "It's okay. I know I am." "Well, I think you look great," I said. Zion handed me a grape. I took it from him with my foot and I popped it into my mouth. "So, why have you been eating in the bathroom?" he asked. I swallowed my grape and said, "I don't want other kids to watch me eat either." "Why not?" "Because they'll think I'm gross." "No, they won't." "Yes, they will." "How do you know that?" Zion asked. "I just do. Once when I went to this children's museum with my parents, I sat down to play with Play-Doh at the table. Of course, I had to play with my feet, and everyone at the table stared at me." "Well, that's because it's interesting to see," he said. Then this one kid cried out, "Oh, gross! She's putting her feet in the Play-Doh." "Yeah, but kids are dumb," Zion said. But then his mom looked at my mom and said this, "Would you mind not letting your daughter put her feet in the Play-Doh?" "Oh, what a jerk," Zion muttered. "What'd your mom say?" I smiled. "She said she would make sure I used my butt cheeks instead." I smiled, and Zion laughed a full belly laugh. "Oh, that's a good one. That's a classic." I ate another Cheeto. Before that, I had never realized that people thought feet were gross. Anyway, that was right before starting kindergarten. You know what the first day of kindergarten is like for a 5-year-old with no arms? Zion kind of grinned and said, "Maybe a lot more than for a chubby 5-year-old." "Maybe," I said. The kids asked me so many weird questions, and then I mimicked the little kids' voices and said, "Did somebody chop off your arms? How do you paint with finger paint if you don't have any fingers? How do you use scissors with no hands? How are you going to play duck, duck, goose? Are your armpits ticklish? And how do you wipe peanut butter off your face?" Actually, what the kids really asked were, "How do you go to the bathroom?" But I wasn't going to talk about that. It was exhausting. Hi, Bet. You know, some kids still ask me stuff like, "Do you eat like a skyscraper? Do you weigh more than my dad?" I scowled. No wonder why Zion was so insecure about his weight. I'm sorry. School's just really awful sometimes, isn't it? Yeah. So, I'm curious. Can you do everything everyone else can do with your feet? Mostly. I mean, things are always harder, like to play a game or a song like Hokey Pokey when it says put your right hand in, and I just stand there like a mannequin, and I have nightmares about trying to play flag football and trying to grab somebody else's flag with my foot at the same time I'm running. Well, that just seems difficult. Yeah, I can see that would be hard. The only sport that I really can play is soccer. Well, are you going to try out for the soccer team in the spring? I don't know, I said. I played soccer back home in Kansas, but I had a lot of friends, and I'd always gone to the same school, and everyone was used to me and they knew me, and I don't know anybody here. Well, you know me, Zion said. I smiled and handed Zion another Cheeto. Would you mind if I ate lunch out here with you again sometime? He kind of beamed, but all he said was, "Okay." Zion ate the rest of our lunch together that day, hidden away on the far side of the office, where nobody could see us. I finally got around to ask Connor over as we sat at the bus together that day after school. It turns out that we were on the same bus route. Mom had been driving me to and from school, but I didn't see why she needed to keep doing that when the bus would drop me off only a single block from Stagecoach Pass. I knew how busy she was with stuff at the park, and I didn't want her to have to stop everything in the middle of the day to pick me up anymore. Is your mom working tonight? I asked Connor. Yeah, she's not going to be back till early in the morning. Well, then you're coming over to my house theme park apartment thingy for dinner. My parents want to meet you. I mean, I know you've already met my dad briefly, but they want to meet you, like officially, especially after Steakgate is what I'm calling it. Connor looked torn. I can come over until dinner, but then I have to go home, and they're not mad about that prank, are they? I sat back up. Well, why do you have to go home if your mom's working all night? Can't you just stay? He shrugged and blinked his eyes rapidly. Well, maybe I can stay. I'll see. Okay, I said. Connor never ate lunch. He wouldn't eat ice cream with me either, and now he didn't want to have dinner at my house. I was beginning to wonder if he was starving himself, so I decided to change the subject. So I was thinking about what you said the other day, about maybe someone maybe somebody's stolen away the Kavanaughs. I whispered the words to him, in case anyone was listening to our conversation. Connor blinked. Yeah? The Kavanaughs? I nodded. Yeah, I was thinking we should maybe start considering the possibility that maybe they were murdered at the Stagecoach Pass. Again, I whispered the word murder. You can never be too careful when discussing such things. Who? Connor said. Well, it could be anybody. There is this guy at the gold mine. We call him Mean Bob because he's so mean. Maybe he did it. Or maybe the guy who interviewed my parents, Gary the accountant. He could have done it. But why would anyone do that? Well, to take over the park. But why would he want to take over the park? Money, I said. It's always about money. How much money do you think that place makes? Connor asked. I actually thought the park made negative money. Well, all right, okay, maybe not money. So I narrowed my eyes at Connor and said, maybe revenge. Revenge for what? He asked. Well, I don't know that yet, but I'm going to solve this great mystery all on my own, I announced. If you would like to assist me, you certainly may do so. Okay, Connor said, not quite with the enthusiasm or British accent I had been going for. In my mind, great detectives always had British accents. Okay, well, first thing, we should go back to that storage shed, I said. But there's nothing in there except for papers that you can barely read and old props and junk. Yeah, but maybe there's something else hidden there. Why else would it have all those signs saying do not enter? Connor nodded, that's true. I tapped my feet on the bus floor. I've never had an exciting mystery to solve. Well, except for the time that I woke up with every inch of my hair covered in chocolate. What? Connor said. Well, a Hershey Kiss fell out of my backpack into my bed and I rolled around it all night and that's what it did. Can you believe it? One Hershey Kiss made that much of a mess. Connor didn't seem impressed with my Hershey Kiss story. He just said, maybe you should ask Madame Myrtle about it. Shouldn't a psychic who works in the park know all about that kind of stuff? I mean, can't they, talk to dead people and stuff? No, she just reads palms, I said. Obviously, she's not very helpful to me. Connor smiled and said, you shan't worry. And he raised a finger in the air and finally spoke in the British accent. We shall solve this high mystery ourselves. Yes, it was good. I was glad he used that terrible British accent. And that's the end of the chapter. So I will do another day here in a little bit.